This video is brought to you by Raycon True Wireless Earbuds. Stick around to hear more about them and also a special offer they're making available through my channel. It is pointless to review Psychonauts 2 now. Game's been out for months, everyone loves it, reviews through the roof, it's been nominated for a Game of the Year award. Me being like, I recommend Psychonauts 2, it's kind of stupid at this point. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to say some stuff about Psychonauts 2. That's literally it. Let's start. Psychonauts 2 is what happens when you say, there should be a 3D platformer for adults. Platformers like Ratchet & Clank and Spyro or Mario games are not intended for adults. Their gameplay can certainly appeal to adults because of how sophisticated some of it is, especially in the case of Mario games. But tonally, thematically, narratively, structurally, the 3D platforming genre is more concerned with appealing to as wide an age group as possible than it is looking to intellectually engage or stimulate or challenge an adult audience. Psychonauts is kinda to 3D platformers what The Simpsons was to animation. It takes a format that was intended for kids or young people and it uses it to speak to an older audience. Much like The Simpsons, a kid could enjoy Psychonauts for what it is, but are they really gonna get it? Not until they're much, much older.
Well, this is the campground. Dr. Touch and Artie used to like to come here.
They like to get high out here.
So, you're saying they're up there?
Yep. The view up there is amazing.
I think we arrive at this point because, more than anything else, Psychonauts 2 is just a trip through Tim Schafer's mind, which is somewhat ironic given that the central conceit of this game is Raz taking trips through other people's minds. Tim is the only credited writer on the project, so the entire thing is just stuff that he dreamed up, stuff he finds interesting, stuff he finds funny. He's a grown-ass man, 54 years old, and if he's gonna sit alone in a room for a few months to punch out a script, then you can bet he's gonna want to make it entertaining for at least himself. If you happen to find it funny as well, then that's just a bonus. For what it's worth, I think this game is absolutely hilarious.
I am the crushed one. It crushes my heart to see you not doing your best. Understand? Now, do I need to show you how to crush things? No? You sure? Okay. Good boy.
I grew up on Tim's humor, LucasArts games like Full Throttle and Monkey Island. There's a weird nostalgic comfort to the way he builds his characters, sets up a scene, tells a joke. One thing I certainly notice in the way his scenes play out is that they kind of feel slower and quieter than you might expect. There's a stilted quality to the back and forth that gives the dialogue room to breathe. I've always felt that Tim's dialogue sounded similar to that of a quietly spoken stage play, whereas most other games feel like they're more slickly produced, giving them more of a Hollywood quality.
Truman, I don't understand. Who kidnapped you?
I only saw that psycho in the shower cap.
But Lobato must have had help. We think it's the delusionists. And they're even trying to bring back...
Maligula. It's true. That's what I was working on when I was taken.
Incidentally, I think the pace, cadence, and volume of Mass Effect games are quite similar to this, which is one of the reasons why I think it's so pleasant to listen to Mass Effect characters talk.
We'd open a bottle of cerise-sized brandy every year, and it's my turn to buy.
But it hasn't been a year yet.
Yes, well, something tells me we won't have the chance a few months from now, so... indulge my impatience.
Tim's cadence and humor and weird imagination are all over this thing, but I think it's notable that I wouldn't apply the word vision to it. If you look up the term video game auteur, you typically get a whole bunch of Japanese names, maybe Ken Levine, but you'll almost certainly find Tim Schafer as well. In the case of Tim's contemporaries though, it really feels like they have a vision for each of the projects they commit to, like they're kind of occupying a space connected to but largely separate from themselves. Tim's work feels like it's just him. He obviously has a clear vision for what he's creating, but it feels so connected to who he is as a person, what he finds interesting and what he finds funny, that you focus less on the question of what is Tim trying to say here, and more on the question of what is Tim? They say in the world of video games, true authorship is rare, and it is. But even more rare is a feeling of personal connection with the creator. As much as I admire Kojima, I don't look at any of his work and feel like I know him as a person any better because of it. I definitely feel like I have a pretty good read on Tim Schafer after all these years, despite having never met the man. And I think that connection comes from him leaving so much of himself on every page of the script he writes. I think that's one of the most special things about Psychonauts 2. It feels like a product made by a person, in the same way that books are written by a person, or that a YouTube video is made by a person. Obviously, a large number of people contributed to this project, and I don't want to sell short their contribution or their incredible accomplishment, but this entire game hinges on the script that Tim wrote for it, and I really like how much I think about his authorship here and my connection to it, because very few games invoke that in me, so it's cool when a game does that. Psychonauts 2 is the best written game I've played this year, but not because of its dialogue, it's because of its level design. That sounds weird, so let's talk about that. Most level design in 3D platformers is built around a location. There's the nature-aligned settings with which we're most familiar. This is the ice level, this is the lava level, this is the forest level, etc. There might also be more manufactured settings. This is the science lab level, this is the mining level, so on. In each of these instances, the starting point was, where should we set this? And then the designers built around what you might expect to find in that setting. New Donk City is a city, so it has cars and fire hydrants and people in suits and skyscrapers. All things you'd expect to find in a city, but made playable here because it's a video game. Psychonauts 2 has a different starting point. Because each of its levels are set in someone's brain, it first asks, what story are we trying to tell about this character here? And from that we arrive at the first layer of the level design, almost like the outer cortex. In the case of Hollis Forsyth, acting head of the Psychonauts, it starts in a hospital setting because that's where she trained and that's where she was recruited into the Psychonauts. The story is she developed a new treatment for helping patients, but she did so while she was working as an assistant. Her boss took the credit for her work, a story that is told slowly across different settings, scenes, and perspectives.
Another life saved by the Forsyth method.
The POTS method? POTS. It was my invention. That intern merely transcribed my dictation.
Eventually, if you explore an optional path in the game, you chance upon this slideshow collectible that shows that Hollis tried to rewire her boss's brain, but she made a mistake that only the Psychonauts could fix. This was how Hollis attracted the attention of the Psychonauts, and how she would eventually come to be recruited. It also serves as justification for Raz being given a second chance when he does the same thing to Hollis. Eventually, we get deeper into Hollis's psyche when Raz scrambles Hollis's brain. Raz wants Hollis to take more risks, aka send him on an important but risky mission, but Hollis is really stressed out about keeping the Psychonauts financially solvent. As a result, Hollis starts to think that gambling is going to be her best way to pay the bills, and the hospital setting that is the foundation of her character is perverted to now be a risk and reward based environment.
Full recovery! You did it, Dr. Potts.
Call me Jack. Let's go for double or nothing.
Woo!
This is where things start to get really playful. The idea of IVF being this expensive wheel spin, or the pharmaceutical industry being this rigged money sink, or the risk inherent in the operating theatre. These are all really interesting concepts to explore, and that exploration happens through gameplay, not through long, drawn-out explanations. In fact, it's never explained to you. Most games would have a moment at the end where Raz would be like, wow, I guess the healthcare system is a lot like a casino, isn't it? But it really shouldn't be because we shouldn't profit from people's health. Credits roll or some shit, you know? Tim has enough faith in your intelligence not to do that, but more importantly, I think the game as a whole has enough faith in its level design that it trusts that it's getting its point across. I never cease to be amazed by this level design. I really feel like it's some of the best level design I've ever seen in a video game. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but I really challenge you to think of a game that is layering on and harmonizing so many narrative devices, themes, inspirations, and mechanics all at once. I mean, there's a story later on about how we're not one single identity, we're actually multiple identities operating across different settings. You're different at work than you are with your mates at the pub, or you are with your family, or you are when you're hiking alone in the woods. So which one is the real you? Well, kind of all of them. And that's what this library is exploring, the idea that some parts of us are locked away or suppressed or banned, but they're still a part of us and we need to come to terms with them. This world goes a layer deeper to explore one part of this character's personality, a part that committed a crime in order to survive. She was a counterfeiter, and so this world is built around paper, and she's Chinese, so it's set in the Orient, and it's set on water, and it has these colonially inspired trappings invoking Hong Kong or Shanghai, and you visit a printing press, and the market, and the fish cannery, and you find evidence of this counterfeiting crime because you need this character to face who they are and what they've done so that they can accept it as a part of themselves and resolve that tension that's stopping them from becoming whole. That's a hell of a lot more interesting than this is the lava level. Every level in this game is this Inception-esque journey where you dive deeper and deeper into the core of who someone is, their history, their worldview, their trauma, their darkest fears, the immutable hope that serves as their way back. But the absolute genius of Psychonauts is that all of that is explored through gameplay, through level design, through visual design, through mechanics, not through long drawn-out exposition. I really struggle to think of a game that I've played that said so much with so few words. One of the talking points around Psychonauts 2 is that its gameplay is clunky. I think that's broadly true. Controlling Raz doesn't feel great. He is nowhere near as snappy or responsive as his mascot counterparts, and his suite of abilities all feel kind of thrown together rather than a neatly compiled kit that would result in satisfying feeling combat. Where we might play Mario for the sheer joy of his triple jump, or Ratchet and Clank for the breadth of its arsenal, there's no equivalent of that here in Psychonauts 2. But I think it would be really unfair to suggest that Psychonauts 2's gameplay isn't good because so much imagination has been put into set pieces and encounters that it really squeezes every last drop out of the limited mechanics on hand. The cook-off is a really superb example. This is such a tiny area in terms of real estate, but it really feels like the most dense gameplay space in the entire game. You have to pull ingredients from the crowd, boil the egg, chop the bread, blend the watermelon. While you're doing all of this, you're using your levitation, your mental connection, your rail grinding, you're slowing down time to make it easier to run across spinning cylinders. This is one of the best sequences that I played in any game this year because it was so diverse in what it was asking me to do, and even more impressively, it wasn't on rails. I think if another AAA game were to do a sequence like this, it would be a lot more guided. There wouldn't be the same margin for error to boil the wrong ingredient or fall off a ledge while you're carrying the pork you just sliced up. I suspect the whole sequence would have been over-engineered to smooth out any rough edges, but I think the rough edges make this a far more tactile and satisfying experience in the end.
Hey, that wasn't so bad.
The fact that the whole thing culminates in a boss battle where the intention is to overfeed the judges while they vomit all over you is just icing on the cake. Boss battles in this game are a real standout highlight. This one is unbelievable. A man who felt abandoned by everyone he loved feels stranded on an island of his own making, and as we peel away the layers of his abandonment issues, we reveal the people who he feels most abandoned by.
I warned you, and I warned you, but did you listen? No!
Here we fight them as they take turns hurling explosives or setting the water itself on fire, and I'm riding a door as a raft, dodging back and forth between each lane and picking up objects and throwing them back, and man, it's just a really great encounter to both watch and play. One thing I really appreciated about Psychonauts 2 was just how much choice it gave you, and how much it invited exploration and discovery. There are 4 hub areas in this game, and none of them have anything that you must do, but all of them are filled with things that are absolutely worth finding. The Mother Lobe is littered with people you can chat to, and since all the characters are so funny and well written, everyone's worth chatting to. The questionable area is filled with traversal and exploration challenges, and hidden in its nooks and crannies are the Aquato family, Raz's family of traveling circus performers, each of them with their own unique perspective on how much of a disappointment Raz is to the Aquato name. Again, there's nothing essential in any of these areas or in any of these interactions, but I found them to be some of the most rewarding in the entire game. You can really wrap your arms around this world as well. Psychonauts 2 achieves that rare balance of a world so large that it feels expansive, but not so large that any of it feels like inessential filler. Much like the game as a whole, there's not a lot of fat to be trimmed here. With a world worth exploring, characters worth talking to, and the confidence to know Tim won't ever waste your time, I was struck by how much choice Psychonauts 2 gave me. I felt very empowered at key moments to do whatever interested me, or to approach things in whatever order I preferred. At various points, the game will give you multiple options for how to progress the main story, and I liked how organic that choice felt, or even the choice to not progress the story at all and go and find more weirdos to talk to. Sure, I can jump into different paintings in Mario 64, but I wouldn't describe that as a game that gives me a lot of choice. Ratchet & Clank and It Takes Two are entirely linear adventures. That's not a bad thing, of course. I just think it's notable that Psychonauts 2, a 3D platformer, is able to serve up these feelings of choice and freedom and discovery and exploration in a way that very few 3D platformers are able to do. Finally, and this is weird, I like that this is a story about old people. We don't really spend a lot of time with old people in video games. I mean, we have the old wise dude who teaches us a martial arts technique or gives us a quest or something, maybe a party member in a JRPG. That's usually about it in most video games. But a big chunk of Psychonauts 2 is about a group of old people who are past their prime and they're reflecting on their biggest mistakes and regrets, and they're overcoming their trauma and they're facing their demons. I think most video games that do have old people in them are using them as a plot device to empower the youthful protagonist, but here Psychonauts 2 says that you're never too old to have a character arc, and I like that. I don't know why, I just like that a lot. So let's finish up on this. Do I think that Psychonauts 2 is a Game of the Year contender? I think you're fucking crazy if you don't think that Psychonauts 2 is a Game of the Year contender. There was an article recently from a guy named Jez Corden that argued that the Game Awards has a Hollywood bias, and that movie games like The Last of Us 2 are more likely to get awards nods, while more playable experiences such as Forza Horizon 5 are overlooked. Corden will go on to say that this bias discredits the creativity and ingenuity of our industry, since we're more focused on aping Hollywood than leaning into what makes video games unique. I don't agree that the Game Awards has a Hollywood bias. Recent winners like Sekiro, Breath of the Wild, and Overwatch are experiences defined first and foremost by their playability. However, I do agree that our industry is not very good at identifying and celebrating out-of-the-box creativity or uniquely esoteric experiences that don't immediately make sense. Sekiro, Breath of the Wild, and Overwatch are all extraordinary games in their own way, but they do fit very neatly into boxes that we long ago carved out. It feels right that games like these should be crowned, whereas a racing game winning top honors would leave us kind of scratching our heads. It shouldn't be that way though. The highest rated game on all of Steam right now is Terraria, a 2D pixel art side-scroller survival, building, exploration, and combat game. Doesn't look like much on the surface, does it? Euro Truck Simulator is the 7th most highly rated game across all of Steam. That is a game about driving trucks over long distances. Try explaining the appeal of that to your average gamer. Binding of Isaac is the 12th highest rated game on Steam. Try explaining the appeal of that to your average non-gamer. Or anyone, really. Binding of Isaac's really fucked up. So what the hell is the point of all this? My point is, I think it's rare that a game like Psychonauts 2 gets a look in at the top. Psychonauts isn't on this list for the same reasons that Ratchet & Clank and It Takes Two are, even though they are ostensibly very similar games. They're really, really not similar. Psychonauts 2 is so weird and so different that it doesn't neatly fit into any of the boxes that these sorts of awards are typically most comfortable with, making its inclusion this year really important. We need to get better at elevating stuff like Psychonauts 2, because this is some of the best and most innovative and most interesting stuff that our industry is capable of producing. Oh my god, it's November. Are you for real? How? It felt like only last week I was stuck at home for 4 months, watching Netflix and having Ben & Jerry's delivered to me at 4 PM and the Uber Eats guy's like, "Are you okay, bro? This is the 3rd tub this week and it's only Wednesday." That era is behind me now, and so I transitioned seamlessly from the stress of being inside all the time to the stress of Christmas shopping. The busy stores, the long queues, not knowing what to buy everyone. Wouldn't it be nice if there were a gift that everyone would want, was affordable, and could be delivered straight to my door? Enter Raycon wireless earbuds, the perfect gift for pretty much anyone, even your nan, probably. Raycon wireless earbuds let you experience wireless audio wherever you go without having to fork out the price tag you typically pay for that experience. Raycons are literally half the price of other earbuds you've heard about, and the quality is just as good or better, and the battery life goes the distance as well. Raycon's newest model, the everyday earbuds, are their best ones yet, with 32 hours of battery life, 8 hours of playtime, a built-in microphone for phone calls, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a range of custom gel tips for both comfort and to ensure a nice noise isolating fit. Best of all, Raycons come with a free 45-day return policy, so don't take my word for it, try them for yourself, and if you aren't happy, you can get your money back. Easy. This is literally the best week to grab a pair of Raycons, by the way, because they are running a Black Friday special, which doubles the usual discount they provide to viewers of this channel. That means you can grab a pair of Raycons for 30% off their typical retail price. That discount expires on the 29th, so don't delay. To get 30% off your order, click the link in the description below or visit buyraycon.com/skillup. Thanks Raycon for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.